See, I think there are three repercussions coming out of the Bangladesh crisis right now. First thing is that Sheikh Hasina, who has been India's strongest ally in the region, she is out of power, which also means that she had for a long time controlled, anti-Indian militants and terrorists who were operating from Bangladesh and launching attacks against India. They were being imprisoned and they're being cracked down upon under her tenure. And now the biggest challenge is after she's gone, if in potential there is a opposition government which is being led by Jamaat-e-Islami or Bangladesh National Party comes to power, they might revive these forces um, back to power, which might have security repercussions for India. That is one. Point two is that there is a lot of anti-India resentment that is growing in Bangladesh, especially amongst the protesters who have ousted Sheikh Hasina now. So in that case, we also see that there has been a significant bridge between people to people relations and the perceptions that they have towards India. And that is something that has to be built and bridged and becomes very difficult since Sheikh Hasina is not in power. And the other political parties have run a rhetoric and narrative of anti-India and saying and showing basically India as a bad country or a bad power. So this is something that this India should be aware as the Bangladesh reaches its own crisis and has its troubles ahead. See, I think multiple impacts. One, again, as I mentioned, there is a significant security angle to it. Bangladesh has a problem of terrorism. Bangladesh has a problem of extremism and hardliners always taking use of Islamism and preaching these extremist ideologies. Now, that is the biggest challenge that India will have because Sheikh Hasina had controlled this issue for a long time. Without her, it would be difficult to crack down on these hardline institutions and organizations, and then there are possibilities that we might see more infiltration, more influence from Pakistan, more terrorist attacks on the on our borders. Now, the second biggest challenge is obviously a lot of our money has been poured into a lot of these projects of connectivity, supply, train, railway networks, diesel supply, and energy grids, and all of these projects will now be at a risk because we don't know what is going to happen in the future. If there is more protest, if there is more political violence, all of these projects might also be under risk. Now, a third important point that we should also see is if Bangladesh continues to be in a political crisis or if it continues to see this kind of violence going on, a lot of a refugee crisis might kickstart, which might also increase a lot of pressure on Indian borders and Indian security guards who are guarding us on the border. So I think these are the three most important threats and most important points that we have to see at this point in time. Finally, I would also like to add that northeastern region has also been turbulent. India's northeast. So if any disturbance or if any kind of violence takes place in Bangladesh, there is a high possibility of that spillover moving into our northeastern states and as well as West Bengal. And I think these are something that we should be very aware of. See, I don't know what is the conversation behind the scenes. For one, I think that I don't really believe that US is behind these recent developments in Bangladesh, just for a reason that US also wants to increase its defense cooperation, increase its presence in the region. But I don't think they were behind these protests. What I might suspect is obviously there is a big hand of Pakistan and Pakistan ecosystem, that is basically the Jamaat-e-Islami and Bangladesh National Party, which have had very close relationship with Pakistan. So that I think in that case, Pakistan would have to play a bigger role than I think either USA or China for that reason. On China, I think Sheikh Hasina had maintained a balanced relation between India and China. So I don't think China in specific was very keen on letting Sheikh Hasina go, but at the same time, I don't think China would mind a new government or working with the new government, which is where, difficult for India because Sheikh Hasina had been best friend of India and had respected Indian sensitivities. But for China, it doesn't matter who is in power because they will still talk to them, they will still engage with them, and they will still interact with them economically.